everybody, welcome back to My Big Sister Podcast. My name is Grace and this is my big sister Josie.
Hello everyone, in today's episode we're going to be talking all about long distance friendships and relationships and all that sort of stuff. I feel like I have quite a lot of experience with this, having lived in Australia.
You lived in Australia for like 7 years.
Do you feel like you do?
Yeah, well, I was long distance with my boyfriend for 3 years while he was at uni. So
True.
Yeah, we're going to talk all about that. I hope you guys are really well. Hope you're having a good week and let's get into it. Okay, I feel like we should start talking about friendships because I feel like that's the one probably the majority of people have to deal with at some point in their life. And I think it's so hard to like maintain a friendship when you're like not living where the person has moved to. And I think there is such a thing of like, I feel like when you're in school, when you're growing up, I feel like it's very much like you see your friends all the time and you kind of think like, oh, if my friend moved away, like we wouldn't be as close. But then I feel like now that I've become an adult, I've kind of realised like the majority of my friends aren't going to live right near me, and it's not like how at school when you all live like within walking distance from your school normally, whereas now it's like even if you both live in London, you could still live like an hour or 2 hours away on like public transport. So I feel like it's so common in like adult friendships and it's something you have to definitely like get used to. I feel like for me it was when everyone went off to uni, that was like my first kind of experience of like having long distance friendships, and I think it can be really hard at first. And then also lockdown was also like basically
True.
Even if we weren't living long distance apart, we couldn't see our friends for like so many months. So
yeah, I feel like school and uni really like trick you into thinking that your friendships are going to continue to be this sort of geographically close forever, because like when you go to uni then you have all your uni friends
if you're living with
that
them,
usually you're actually living with in the same halls or in a house or whatever, and then I feel like then you kind of don't build those skills of like how to have a long distance relationship, especially like if you mainly transition to just having most of your friends at uni. I don't know, it really depends. Like some people keep a lot of their friends from school.
But like even if you have friends from school, like I feel like a lot of people I know from back home, like they've all moved to different cities, like, or they might have ended up moving to the city they went to uni in, or like, or people want to go traveling. And I feel like it is, such a big like transition. I feel like you do have to put the effort in. But then I do think also like, there are just some friends that I know we're not going to be texting all the time and we're both fine with that. And I feel like it's kind of working out like your new kind of dynamic with your friends, like someone who you might have used to see every single day walking to school together. It's like, well, now might not actually text you for 6 months, but then when I do see you, we have so much to catch up on now that it's actually kind of more fun to see you those times.
Yeah, I feel like I have some friends who I just like know that we're going to be friends forever even if we don't necessarily text every day.
Yeah.
But then there's some friends that's like if I
don't hear from them, you're a
if
bit
I don't
like
hear
worried,
from them, I'm just kind of like we're probably not that close anymore. But that's kind of like an unspoken thing. It's not like I've said to my friends like, oh, we
don't text. Yeah.
It just kind of, I just feel like you kind of know it. But then you also need to be careful because you might think that in your head. Yeah. But then the other person...
You might think like we're not texters, whereas they're sat there like, I haven't had a text from Josie.
And the other person might be like, oh, like, are we not friends anymore? So you got to be careful. And I think just checking in once in a while is good. Like, you don't want to go like 6 months or a whole year without messaging someone. I mean, that's not really... I think once you get to that point,
I think it just depends though, because like if I think of like my mum and like her friends, it's like she probably only sees some of her friends like once every 2 years, but like they haven't fell out, they're just so busy in their lives.
I think that's like the benefit of getting older is you have so much time, more years of like knowing, oh, this person is going to stick around, because even if I don't talk to them, I know that eventually I'm going to hang out with them again.
Yeah, I feel like for me as well, since I've like been at uni, I feel like now with all my home friends, it's like, well, I definitely will see them at Christmas every year. That's like the time when everyone obviously comes home to their families. So I feel like I'm guaranteed to see most of my friends from school at least once a year at Christmas time. But apart from that, it's kind of just like fitting in whenever people are at home visiting their parents, or like if someone is in London for the day and they're like wanting to meet up with me, like I feel like it's just trying to fit it in. But it's kind of important to like know the vibe of your friendships, because like some of my friends, like some of them I literally will not hear from them. They don't post on social media. I have no idea what they're doing, won't see them for a year, but then they'll randomly message and we'll meet up, and it's like, wow, I have so much to catch up on, like, and it's like they've had like a whole side quest I didn't know about or whatever, and it's fun and it's fun, and it's like, that's just, I know that's the vibe of our friendship. But then there's some friends where like if I was you know, something could happen, I can FaceTime them and they'll answer straight away. Like, you know, not that I really FaceTime my friends, but if there was an emergency, I know if I like FaceTime Tia or Ella, they would pick up. Whereas there's some friends who are like, I've never even ever FaceTimed or like anything like that. I feel like it's just working out like the vibe of your friendships. As well, I feel like when you start work as well, like you have like work friends, which is like a whole different thing, because it's like your work friends are not necessarily people who like you'd invite around your parents' house, or like people that you kind of would see like outside of work. Then I would still see them as like quite good friends, because you might be seeing them every day.
Yeah, it's interesting how that happens, and then it's kind of hard to know if they're friends that if you left that job.
Yeah, it's kind of like, are we actually friends, or are we just like here because we're both here? Yeah,
I think it's hard to know. I think usually with that, it's like if you do stuff outside of work, that's when you could start to become a bit more.
There's that quote that's like,
friends.
You're either friends for a reason, friends for a season, or friends for life. Oh, and I always think of that.
You always got the good quotes.
Yeah, because friends for a reason is like, yeah, maybe we work together and that's why we're friends, or we work at school and that's why we're friends. Friends for a season is like someone you might become friends with for like 6 months and then suddenly you kind of fizzle out. And then friends for life, they're the ones you've got for life. So I always think, I feel like most of my friends I would like to say are friends for life now. But then there's some friends I have that are more like work friends, and it's just like, seeing what the vibe is. But I think in terms of long distance friendships, I feel like you do need to put the effort in at least at first to kind of work out what vibe we are on. Like, are we the sort of friends who's going to have a little catch up once a week on FaceTime? Or are we just going to catch up in 6 months when you're back home from uni? Like, it's kind of like working out the vibes.
Yeah, well, me and my friends like when I moved to Sydney, I was quite strict with everyone. I was like, I'm going to call you. We're going to stay in touch. And I think even with mum, I was like, every Sunday I'm going to call
FaceTime
you.
her, yeah.
But then over time, that kind of fizzles out a little bit.
Yeah, I know one of my friends, Tia, with all her uni friends, she has this thing called like, I think she calls it like Ramble Wednesdays, where every Wednesday they all have to send a voice note into their group chat of like what they've been up to that week. So then every Wednesday they basically have like a whole podcast from everyone of like what they've been up to that week.
That's so nice. I want to start doing that.
Yeah, because then you can just, you don't have to be on the phone call. Like you can just listen to it any time in the day that suits you.
That's a really good idea, because everyone's busy, but everyone has time to like
listen to like a 2-minute voice note
and like talk into a voice note for 10 minutes.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so I think that's nice. But yeah, I think it is really hard. I mean, I feel like I still have a lot of my friends from home, whereas I feel like a lot of your closer friends are your ones from uni, but that's probably just because you lived at uni, so you were much closer with those people.
Yeah, I guess because you didn't move away to go to uni, maybe that means you just kept more of your friends from home.
Yeah, because I was living in the same place, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know,
and I'm also younger, so you never know, in 10 years maybe I'll have less friends from home.
True.
I hope not, but
yeah, like if I was talking on this podcast and I was your age, I would say, oh yeah, I still have quite a lot of friends from school, but they just drift off eventually.
Yeah, I think it just depends like kind of how lucky you are if the people from school are your vibe of person.
And to be honest,
like you might go to a school where like no one's really your vibe.
At my school, well, maybe I was the weird one, but I just didn't like.
They weren't really just connect. Your sort of people.
Yeah, they were just like. I can't explain it.
You
they
found
just weren't
more of your sort of people at uni, and like, you also met a lot of friends when you moved to Australia. So and you still have those friends now. So are you finding it weird to go? Those friends that live in Sydney, now you're long distance from them. Are you like trying to keep that contact up as much?
Yeah, that's tricky. I am trying, but
I feel like with the time difference, that is a major thing. Because at least when my friends went to uni, it was like the same time zone. Whereas when someone's asleep and someone's awake, it's like,
it's so tricky, because they'll send a message when I'm asleep, and then I'm like tired first thing in the morning. I read it, and then because I'm so tired, I like forget that I read it, and then I forget to reply, and then I then I go to text them like months later, and I'll be like, oh, they asked me a question and I forgot to reply, and I'll feel really, really bad about it.
Maybe you should do this Ramble Wednesdays.
Yeah, I think I need to do a regular like phone, like WhatsApp
a list
suite
of like,
or just look at every single message on my WhatsApp and be like, did I reply to that?
Yeah, I do that. It's whenever I first wake up and I open a message and then I just don't reply for like 3 hours
and when
least.
the time difference is that different, then that's going to happen like with every message that is sent. So
yeah, I feel like I am quite bad at texting back, because most of the time I'll read it and in my head I'll think what I was going to reply, but then I just like can't physically do it right then. I don't know why. Like I just can't feel like I need, like it's not like I don't want to reply, it's just like I'm not ready to reply yet. And then by the time I'm ready to reply, I'm like, oh, it's been too long, and then I feel bad. Forget. Yeah, or you just forget.
I think I'm just going to start voice noting everyone. I feel like that is so much a better way to connect to people. And it's like, it feels more personal, and it's also just easier because you don't have to type. You just talk.
Yeah. So. I think one thing that is weird though with like long distance friendships is how like most of my friends, you know, post on their social media, like even if they've just got a private account, they're posting like little updates or whatever they're doing. So it kind of feels like you know what they're doing sometimes. So then sometimes I feel like you're like, oh, I know what they're up to, like I don't really need to ask. But then I feel like you need to remember that like just what someone's posting is not actually what they're actually up to. And I feel like people do that to me a lot of the time. Like if I see people I haven't seen in a while, they're like, oh, Grace, like I know what you're up to. I don't need to ask you what you've been up to. And it's like, obviously I do post my real life on social media.
You're not posting everything of your
but
life,
yeah,
though.
I'm not posting all the bad parts.
Yeah.
I also don't post about like my family members that don't want to be online. I don't post about my boyfriend. So like there's lots of things in my life that I don't share. So I feel like it's kind of strange sometimes when people like
feel like they don't need to ask you what's going on.
They think they know exactly what's happened in the last 6 months.
But all you're actually posting is just like the fun things you're doing.
Yeah, and like I do post my life on social media, but it is also like my job, and like a lot of the reels I'm posting are just like outfit ideas and stuff. It's not really like my life, it's just like my outfits. So I feel like it is a weird thing of like if you're posting on social media, people assume. But then I do like seeing, like, I have a lot of friends who are off travelling at the minute and they've started posting, like, little vlogs on TikTok. And I really like watching it because I'm like, well, I wouldn't normally see that if you weren't posting. Like, I wouldn't see the video. So it is nice to keep up with people in that way.
I think, you know, we always talk about social media being really bad. But I think in some way, when you're just looking at your actual real life friends, it is a good way to keep in touch with people. And I've, like... a lot of the time I'll like see a photo, then I'll like it, they'll reply, and then I'll then have a conversation on Instagram. And so a lot of the time it is like instigating conversations that I wouldn't necessarily have with my friends. So I think that's good. But at the same time, it's like you say, it can trick you into thinking that you're keeping up with your friends when you're actually not. You're just looking.
It's like you have a parasocial relationship with your own friends.
Actual friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not really the same.
Yeah, because I feel like I always forget that if I'm viewing someone's stories all the time, like they don't know what I'm doing too. Like it's not like a two-way thing. Like if you're seeing someone's life, it's like it's not a two-way conversation. It's just like you're just a viewer of their stuff.
Yeah, and then I have some friends who just don't post on social at all. And then you could easily, if you were just relying on social media to see what all your friends are doing, if you have a friend that doesn't post, then it's like they've just disappeared.
They've just done nothing for
like, what are they doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the voice note thing is a good idea. I feel like I need to start doing that.
All my friends' voice notes after this.
Yeah,
podcast.
I think it also really depends on like what sort of person you are in terms of like making plans with friends. I feel like I'm very much the organizer friend. Like I am always the one to be like, guys, we haven't met up in ages, let's plan this, let's do this. Whereas I feel like you are not as much like that. I feel like you've said before in the podcast, you're trying to be more like that.
Yeah, I think I am trying to be more like that. And I think maybe when I was living in Sydney, I think I became that a little bit for a while, but I think now, I think me and my friends now sort of share the responsibility, but it's just hard, like, because most of my, like, oldest friends, we don't live, you know.
Most of yours live in different countries, a lot of them, though.
Well, yeah, but the ones that do live nearby, we're at least an hour away.
Yeah,
we're not just around the corner. And then I have a lot of friends in different countries. I've got a friend in Germany, friend in Tanzania, friend in France.
Yeah, and even if you do live near, like, it's just now that everyone is an adult, at least in my life, like, we've all got jobs, and like it's so hard to even just meet up with my friends that do live nearby, so like let alone the ones that live far away. Like even just like my friends that live quite close drive, I mean, if it's rush hour, it's like it can still take them like an hour drive to get to me. So then it's like trying to plan that around work times. And like obviously I work for myself, so I have a lot more flexibility, but most of my friends just have a normal office job or they work like shifts, so it's really hard to find a time where we can all meet up.
It just gets harder and harder as you get older as well, especially when people start having kids. It becomes almost impossible.
And I feel like once people get like partners as well, like I know I'd like to think that like you don't, you know, see your friends less just because you've got a boyfriend or you start dating someone, but I feel like inevitably that does happen like at some point in your life, and it's not like an on purpose thing. It's just like especially I feel like if you live with your partner, it's like if you want to try a new restaurant, it's like well, my boyfriend's right there, I'll just go with him. Like, it's so easy to just
option.
Go, and like, you want to see a new movie, well, he's right there. I'll just, you know, not that I'm like just doing it by default, but like it just is the easiest thing to do. So you do have to remember sometimes, like, oh, I should, you know, is there things I want to do with my friends? But then it's hard, and they might be seeing their boyfriends and their girlfriends, and like, I feel like it does get harder. And then once people start getting like married or having kids, I feel like it would be even harder.
Yeah, it definitely gets harder. But then I also feel like once you have kids and you have a different reason to meet up for like the kids to meet up.
Yeah, I feel like some of our parents' friends, like we would always meet up with the kids. So I feel like then you start a whole new generation of like the friendships. It's like your friends' kids are then becoming friends with your kids.
But then they end up meeting up really early. And I remember once all of our friends who had kids were meeting up for like a barbecue, and they were like, can we meet up at 11? And we were like, okay. But it was for like a lunch barbecue.
Yeah, because it's like such a different time zone for them.
Me and my husband just ended up being 2 hours late, and by the time we got there, one of them had already left. And we were like,
because like, it's nap time.
We're on a different time zone to these people now.
Yeah, I do think like, I just don't understand how people with children like have time to like just function. I can't, like, I feel like I'm almost too kind of selfish in my own life to like be able to even have kids right now. Not that I really want them, but I just can't imagine having to wake up that early every day, and like you can't just go to bed and like leave your makeup on and not do anything, because it's like, no, you have things you have to do every night before bed with your,
I do feel like having a dog, not comparing a kid to a dog,
no, but it's halfway
I do have to wake up early every morning to take Winnie out, so it's kind of the same.
Having a dog is like a lot of responsibility. Like that's too much for me right now, even. Like having a dog, I love dogs and I would love to have a dog for like the fun parts of it. But yeah, the waking up early, like you can't just like come in from work and get in bed and go to sleep that night. Like you've got to take the dog out, and like same with in the morning. You both can't have a lie until 1 p.m. on a Sunday because someone's got to take the dog out. Yeah. So like
I do it in the morning and my husband doesn't.
Yeah, well at least there's two of you, so you can kind of share.
Yeah, I don't know how people look after them by themselves. That is hard.
Yeah. In terms of long-term relationships, so have you ever been like long distance?
Not really. Well, so when me and my husband were moving to Australia, he was my boyfriend at the time. He moved about 2 months before me. I can't really remember why. I think I just had to like finish my job and just had a few things to like finish up.
Didn't he go travelling for a bit?
It was because his visa was running out, so he had to leave the country at a certain time. And then I think I'd only handed in my notice, so then I had like a few... like a month carry on working, where I had to stay, and then I just had to like, you know, pack and things like that. So we had about 2 months where we were long distance, and he was in Sydney and I was in the UK. But I feel like it's so different when you have a plan and you know what's coming. I feel like that's so different to a couple who are long distance and don't know when they're going to be living together again. That was just such a temporary thing that it almost didn't feel, it wasn't hard at all. I feel
like for me, because I was long distance with my boyfriend for like 3 years when he was at uni, and we were living like 4-hour drive apart or like 3-hour train apart,
which is very rare that you manage to survive.
Stay together.
That.
Yeah,
most couples break up. I feel like
when I was in like sixth form in college before we went to uni, it was like the talk of the school. It was like, which couples are gonna break up before uni. It was like a big thing, and like some boys were like, I'm breaking up with my girlfriend so I can sleep with loads of people and fresh as wheat. Like that was like a thing of like people wanting to break up for uni, and then some people were like, no, we're gonna stay together.
I feel like I did that. I broke up for uni. It was kind of like a mutual agreement.
I feel like it was such a big thing of like, oh, who's gonna stay together, who's gonna break up. But at the time I just remember thinking like, well, why would I want to break up? Like even if I was single at uni and found a new boyfriend, it's like, but why wouldn't I just want the one I have? Like it just didn't make sense to me. Like,
well, I think the reality is that most relationships from school aren't really that good.
Whereas I was happy in my relationship.
You actually were genuinely like right for each other or whatever, but I think most people most school relationships are just like, oh, you're there.
Well, it's sort of the same as the like the reason, season, or life for like the friendships. It's like, yeah, sometimes you are just in a relationship because you're both at school together. Like that's kind of the reason you're together. Whereas some people, you're actually like meant to be together.
It's so unlikely that the exact right person for you for the rest of your life just happened to go to your school.
Yeah. But I remember it being like a big thing, and at the time me and my boyfriend like talked about it, and we were like, no, like we want to stay together. So we did, and we made it work for the whole 3 years. And honestly, it was not fun. Like I did not enjoy long distance at all.
You
like
had to go on the train a lot.
Yeah, and like I'm terrified of driving, and I had to drive on the motorway, like these really scary drives on my own. And a few of those years was during lockdown as well, so I couldn't even see him at all during like the first year of when he was at uni. So it was definitely very hard, but I feel like the main thing that kept us together was having that like end date in sight, which I think is so important. I mean, I don't understand how like couples do long distance if they just both are gonna be in different countries and they have no plans to ever like one of them move.
Yeah, that confuses
I mean, maybe
me.
if you're the sort of person who just doesn't like, doesn't care that much about like seeing them like in person, or like just, it's more just. But then I'm like, to me that feels more like a friendship if you're just texting. Like I don't know. I guess it works for some people, and it just depends the sort of person you are. But for me personally, I wanted to only do long distance if I knew that at one point in our case, it was after 3 years he would move back and we would move in together, and that's what we ended up doing.
And did you have like a conversation or a plan about what you do after uni? Like, did you know that you would probably end up living together, or were you not sure?
Yeah, well, that was my kind of goal, because obviously I was living at home when I was at uni. I was like saving up money, and the plan in my head was, we're going to move in together once he finishes uni. So that was always kind of my plan. I didn't know whether I wanted to rent in London, or like I did kind of think like, I want to buy a house, but obviously it's very expensive to buy a house. And I always think before I wanted to buy a house with someone, I wanted to live with them first. And I kind of then, when it was coming up to like when he was in his final year, and I was like thinking like, hey, what are we going to do now that you're finishing uni? I started looking on rental places and like started working out like what kind of area I wanted to live in, and kind of had it all ready, so that when he moved here, I was like, right, we're moving here. I was very much, my boyfriend was very chill. He was just kind of like, wherever you want to go, like, let's just, move in together. So I did all the kind of research, and then just was like, this is where we're moving.
I feel like every relationship has a different expectation as well of how much contact there should be. So I feel like some relationships would be happy to not talk for a few days, but some, if you don't talk for a few hours, it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, I feel like I had a lot of friends when I was younger where like even just their boyfriends that weren't long distance, like if I was out for dinner with them, they would be like calling their boyfriend like multiple times throughout the meal, or like if we were just out for the day, they would be like calling their boyfriend all the time. And like I mean, maybe that's okay for some people, but for me, I was just like, wow, that's a lot of contact. And like for me, I just personally don't feel the need to be like calling my boyfriend.
It makes you wonder why, and it feels like there's probably some sort of
trust
insecurity
issues
there. Because if your partner can't be happy for you to spend some time alone with your friends
without like checking out what you're doing,
that's a bit sus. I don't know.
Well, I feel like it's always like, if someone's so like not trustworthy of you, it's always like more about them, and it's like, what are they actually doing themselves if they're not trusting you to be on your own?
Things like forcing you to take photos of where you are to prove that you're doing what you say you're doing, those kind of things.
Well, unless there's been like
flag.
if you've cheated before, and then they have a genuine reason to be like suspicious, but like I feel like now, like if you've never had a problem before, is a bit of a red flag. Okay, now we're going to go through some questions that we asked you guys. We always ask on our Instagram at mybigsisterpodcast, or if you do have any longer dilemmas, feel free to send them in on our Gmail, which is mybigsisterpodcast@gmail.com. And they'll always be anonymous. But do you want to see what questions we've got in the inbox?
Yeah, we've got some good ones. So someone says, my friend now just sends me memes and like funny gifs instead
I feel like that is
actually like, so they're just saying that their friend sends them memes all the time, and they're worried that the connection with their friend isn't there anymore, and so is that a problem? Like, what should they do about that? How can they get more of a connection with their friend?
Yeah, I feel like there's some friends I have, but like, yeah, we just send each other TikToks and like we don't actually talk much in between. But I feel like it's just kind of like, if you're the sort of person that doesn't want just that to be your only communication, you just need to maybe let your friend know, or maybe just accepting that that's just a sort of way they sort of communicate. And like, I think it all depends of like, are you actually meeting up in real life, or like at some point FaceTiming and catching up? Like, because if you're not, and like you literally never ever see them apart from TikToks, it's like, oh, well, then we're not really friends. But I feel like maybe it's more with like boys. I feel like lots of my like boyfriend's friends, like I feel like they never ever talk about like their feelings or what's really going on. They're just sending like Instagram memes to each other.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think this person, well, I'm not sure, but I think the person that messages is a girl. So
yeah,
I guess maybe, I don't know. I think I would say maybe you try and communicate with how you want to communicate.
Yeah.
Like, you know, whether it's sending a voice note or trying to call them or whatever. And if they continue to not reciprocate, I think maybe just saying something.
Yeah.
Like, maybe
and
just
I
being
think,
like, I want to, you know, catch up more. Like,
yeah, and like if your friend is the sort of person that doesn't like texting, then it's just like getting a date in the diary to actually meet up in real life, or even just to FaceTime more often. I feel like you need like some point to catch up with your friends at some point in like a year, like whether that's FaceTime or meeting up in person. So I feel like, yeah, you should try and like have that catch up time, whether it's over text or in person.
Okay, this is a good one. Is it normal to feel jealous when your long distance friend makes new close friends without you?
I feel like that is so hard, and I feel like especially when you're first going to uni and like then your closest friends make new friends, can be really hard to like get used to. And like I feel like, again, social media, like if you're seeing them all the time with their new friends posting, it's like, oh, I'm feeling left out.
I think this is a thing that seemed to be more common when I was younger.
Yeah,
I don't think it's something I've noticed lately.
Yeah, I feel like it is the thing that's more important when you're younger.
It's kind of a given that you're going to have friends. And also I feel like the concept of best friends, it just kind of doesn't really apply as much when you get older, because you have different friends for different circumstances, and it's just not quite the same where it's like, you're my best friend forever. It's like a bit more broad than that. So I don't know.
I think what kind of helped me is realizing like everyone that your friends are friends with like won't necessarily be your kind of people. So like even if you were there, you might not necessarily get on with them, and it's just nothing against those people. It's just like, yeah, your friend likes them for different reasons that you're friends with that person. And like, so even if you were there, you might not be having this great time that they're all having. Like, you might not kind of feel like you fit in with that group of people, because they're all obviously friends for like different reasons or circumstances.
And I think just you know, if you're mentioning to your friend, oh, I saw that you were hanging out with this person, like we should all hang out at some point, just make it clear that you would like to hang out with them. And, and if you really want to do that, and if you want to build a friendship with this other new friend, just make that clear. I think most friends would be okay with that. Yeah,
but also I feel like there is a time and a place, like you don't have to always integrate your friend groups. Like I feel like that is a thing where like people sometimes feel like when it's their birthday or whatever, they always have to like, and it can just be like some friends groups just don't really make sense together. Like sometimes it's weird to see like your friend from uni and your friend from work mixing together, like it's kind of, and I feel like everyone, you do act slightly differently around different people, so like it's a weird,
that was my wedding in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's a weird
the
mixture.
One time, apart from probably your funeral, where everyone from all over your life is in one room, and it is quite bizarre. It was lovely, but also just a bit odd.
Well, yeah, because like you are more comfortable sharing things with different people, and like some people see you more as like you when you were younger, and some people have only known you as an adult, and like there's so many different kind of versions of you in their heads, and then it's like they're all coming together. Really. Yeah, I do see all these TikToks saying about like friend-in-law. I feel like that's a new thing where you say your friend-in-law, which is quite cute, where it's like your friends who you don't necessarily really know, but you kind of might know a bit of gossip going on, or like you might know like you don't like their ex either because you've heard what he did, but like you're not even really friends with them. It's just like your friend-in-law, like you're kind of on their side even though you don't really know them. Which I think it's quite fun. Yeah, it's like, oh, my friend-in-law, seeing my friend-in-law post something, like go them.
Is it a red flag if my long distance boyfriend rarely wants to plan visits?
I think that is the thing where, like, if some boys go to uni, they're gonna, like, they could have a whole new girlfriend. Not to stress anyone out, but I feel like there are some horrible boys out there who will feel like they can go to uni and literally not tell anyone. Like, they could just tell the people at uni, I'm single, and then, like, they could have this whole double life. Although I do think with social media, I guess that kind of helped things, because then they could just look up and, like, see if he's got any pictures of his girlfriend. But I mean, some boys are very clever and they could hide it. And I know there was people, like, at my friends' unis who had girlfriends back home, and then they would have girls around every night, and, like, my friends would be like, there was a girl in your room last night, like, do I need to tell your girlfriend back home? And it's like this awkward thing of, like, I don't actually know your girlfriend back home, so it feels weird to tell her, but, like, someone needs to tell her.
Yeah,
like,
that happens a lot at uni. But even if they're, like, not cheating at all, we can't just assume that. But
no, but I would be like, why don't you want to meet up?
I think even if they're completely not cheating and nothing's going on like that, it's still a bit of a red flag that they don't want to organise to meet up.
And I think it's just, like, if you were so happy not long distance, it's like, well, what's changed? Don't you want to see me? Like, we used to hang out more.
It could just be that they're really bad at organising, which I kind of relate to, because I'm really bad at organising. Like, I'm going on holiday to Italy in 2 days, and I didn't even know the name of the town that we were staying in. So I'm just really bad at organising and looking and planning.
But I feel like in that case, like, you just have to set boundaries with your partner and be like, okay, we are going to see each other once a month or once a week, however often it is, and then you just, like, are like, if we don't keep up with this, then we need to talk about our relationship, because I'm not happy not doing this amount. And I know one of my friends, she sees her boyfriend, and it's like twice a month is their rule. One time she has to visit him and one time he has to visit her, and, like, they consistently keep up with that schedule.
That's good.
And, like, yeah, they are doing that constantly, and, like, that's how they're keeping up with their relationship. And I feel like that is good. And I mean, some people I know that have boyfriends that live nearby, they might not even see their boyfriend twice a month, like, even if they do live nearby. So I feel like long distance isn't always, like, way worse than someone that might live near you.
That's very true, actually. I've noticed since I've been back in the UK that some of my friends that live technically, like, a livable distance, I don't know if I'm actually seeing them any more than I was seeing them when they were in Australia.
I feel like
because they were visiting Australia quite a lot.
Well, yeah, because when someone lives so close, it's like, oh, you don't need to, like, plan or, like, make an effort, because, like, obviously I'll see you around some point, but then it's like, if you're not actually planning those plans, you might not see them any more than you would if you live far away.
Obviously people are busy, but it's just interesting. You just assume if you're going to be in the same country or within an hour or 2 hours away of someone, you think you're going to see them all the time, but in a weird way, maybe you'd see them less.
Yeah.
And I definitely noticed that with phone calls when I moved to Australia. I was speaking to Mum way more than I was speaking to her when I lived in London. I barely ever spoke to her when I lived in London because I knew that she was close, so I felt like I didn't need to.
Yeah, I think it is weird. And I think even just seeing, like, your friends that live nearby, like, I feel like having, like, a regular thing, whether it's the voice note thing or whether it's actually, if you live close, like, meeting up and going to the pub, or even just once a month, I feel like it's good. Maybe you should start doing that with all your friends that live in London. Like, I know a lot of people do, like, dinner. People call them, I think it's like a kind of posh thing in London where they have, like, supper clubs with their friends. I always see this on TikTok where people are like, the supper club. Yeah, I feel like that is a very, like, upper class thing to do, but where they basically, like, just have all their friends around for dinner, like, once a month. That's kind of what it is.
Call it dinner
at your friend's house once a month.
Supper club.
That's very fancy. I feel like I see a lot of influencers doing, then they start hosting their own supper clubs with, like, followers. It's a whole thing. But anyway,
Someone says, I feel like I'm always the one initiating contact with my long distance friend. How do I know when it's time to let it go?
That is really hard. And I feel like sometimes I see people say, like, friendship is a two-way thing, and, like, if you're always the one messaging, like, you should just stop messaging. But then it's like, I feel like people do forget, like, we're all just human, and, like, a lot of people that, you know, some people might have, like, mental issues, or, like, their brain works differently, that they just literally, like, if someone, for example, like, some of my friends have ADHD, and, like, when someone has ADHD all the time, they literally just forget about you unless you're right in front of them.
Yeah.
Like, people can just literally forget things that aren't happening right now to them.
I feel like that happens to me.
Yeah, so I feel like you have to, you know, take it with a bit of a pinch of salt. It's not always that they're, like, intentionally not messaging you. It might just be that they, like, have so much else stuff going on. But then it gets to a point where it's like, you might sometimes feel like, literally, I would not be friends with this person if I never, you know, initiated things. So I feel like it's a kind of hard balance to gather. I would say I feel like maybe stop messaging for like a month or two and see, and then it's like, okay, if they still haven't messaged, maybe I'll just wait a bit longer, and then maybe just message them and be like, are you okay? I haven't actually heard, like, are you actually physically okay? Like, are you okay? Like, don't ask to meet up, just be like, you know, because something might be going on in their life that's why they haven't been on their phone for months. But if they're like, yeah, I'm fine, and then it's like, oh, like, why didn't you message then? But then I feel like when you're adults, it's like that sometimes you just can't keep in contact all the time. And
I think sometimes
hard.
it might be, you might need to just have a little bit of a think of why am I feeling this way about my friend?
Yeah, I feel like if you have a gut feeling, then maybe listen to it.
But at the same time, it's like, are you maybe overthinking it? That's the other thing, is like, it actually is quite normal for friends not to keep in touch. So I think maybe investigating, like, am I feeling a bit insecure in this friendship, and why is that? Is it something from like previous, you know, has this friend been mean to you in the past? Is there a reason why you feel a bit insecure in this friendship?
Yeah.
And maybe just have a think about that.
But yeah, I do always think like the friends that are like true friends and are meant to like be friends with you, they're always going to come back around. And like, even thinking of like people that I like fell out with in school for like 6 months, or like silly arguments in like school, like if you actually are properly true friends and like you get on, you're gonna end up being friends again. So I feel like even if you have a period of like not talking to someone, you might end up reconnecting. I know like there's a few of my friends now who we went to the same primary school together, and then we didn't go to the same high school, so we didn't talk for like 7 years, and then now I've actually become friends with them again. And it's cute. Like, I wasn't like angry those years because we didn't talk. It was just like we literally just like, you know, went in different ways in life. But now that we've met back up and we're friends again, and it's really nice. So I feel like you should never like fully be like, no, I'm not being friends with you because we don't talk, unless there's something big that's happened or like something bad that they've done to you. But I feel like, yeah, most of the time it's just like, especially in the like 20s and 30s, not that I'm in my 30s yet, but I feel like there's just so much like life stuff going on that like you can kind of give people a bit of like benefit of the doubt of like they probably just had so much going on, that's why they didn't have time to text.
Someone says, my high school bully / frenemy got back in touch with me.
Oh, that's scary.
And wants to reconnect. What should I do?
That is a hard one. I feel like I would like to think that I would like give them the benefit of the doubt and like maybe ask to meet up or maybe call them, but then I know it's happened to me in the past where like you meet up with someone and then they just haven't changed, and it's like, oh, why did I even put myself in this situation to possibly get hurt again, or like to have those feelings kind of be brought back up. It
reminds me of this episode of Black Mirror where the girl goes to the wedding of her friend who she wasn't friends with for a while. It's a really good episode.
What's it called? I don't know if I've seen that one.
Oh, let me have a look. It's called Nosedive.
Is that the one with the point system?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that scene from it, but I've seen.
But the whole thing is like she's reconnecting with an old friend,
right,
and she's going to her friend's wedding, but the friend is like higher status than her, and
right,
she has to try and get her the higher status to go to the wedding.
Yeah.
But it kind of just reminds me of that, in that it's like the frenemy thing of they're all being super like, oh my god, hi, I haven't seen you for so long, but actually they're kind of like frenemies.
I mean, I think it's hard. I think it depends like the extent of if they were your bully in school. Like if it's someone who seriously like made your life hell and like was actually like physically abusive and like all these things, I don't think that's worth it. Yeah. But if it's someone who maybe like you were like kind of frenemies in school and like maybe arguing or like little kind of childish things, I do think like you can't always hold someone's actions of what they did as when they were a child against them their whole life. And like
that's true.
And a lot of the time, like if someone was being a bully, like there's reasons why they were doing that. Like it's always like the person bullying, they're not just doing it for like to be evil. Most of the time there's something going on at home, or like they're being bullied by someone else. So I think you do have to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I do think you only need to give them like one chance.
Yeah.
And if you give them that one chance and they haven't changed, then you don't need to give them that chance again, and you don't need to like.
And sometimes you just
meet up with them again.
Sometimes there's just people who have always been selfish, always been rude, always been slightly mean and bullying, and you just don't need those people in your life.
Yeah, I think it also depends, like if you currently have a really good support system and you've got close friends and you've got family, sometimes it's just like, well, I don't actually feel like I need another friend in my life. That sounds almost a bit selfish, but it's like, if you've already got close friends, it's like, do I need to kind of risk having like a potential bad situation for the sake of having one extra friend in my life when I already have those people I'm close with and I don't really feel like but then if you're someone who doesn't have many friends and you are quite lonely and you do want someone to meet up with, then maybe it's worth giving it a go and seeing how it goes. So I think it really depends on the situation. I think it depends how old you were at the time of these issues. Like if it's only like recently you've had issues with someone and they're trying to reconnect, probably they haven't changed that much in like a year or 2 years. But if it's someone when you were like 12 years old and now you're 25, like that, you know, you'd hope that they have grown since then.
Just depends what they did. If they were really mean,
it depends on the person. But yeah.
Okay, this person says, unrelated, but what do you think about the new Taylor news?
This is crazy. If you guys haven't heard, I assume everyone that listens to this podcast probably is a Taylor fan.
We're luckily recording this episode and it's going to be coming out quite soon after we're recording it.
This only happened yesterday for us. It's currently Saturday and you guys will be listening to this on Wednesday, so in a few days.
And it has changed the Swiftyverse.
Honestly, if you don't know what's been going on, me and Josie are big fans of Taylor Swift, and she has basically got the rights and bought back her first 6 albums, which were basically kind of stolen from her by Scooter Braun. It's a whole thing. If you want to go on YouTube and watch like a video essay about it if you're confused, because I'm sure there's loads of videos explaining it all.
Why she's been releasing all of the Taylor's versions over the last few years.
But now she's bought back her album, so now we can listen to the original version.
Everyone's been like clowning about Reputation, Taylor's version coming out, which by the way I kept saying Rep TV to my husband, and yesterday he was like, I didn't know what that was, I've only just realised what you mean. I thought
it was like a gym thing.
I was talking about a gym like YouTube channel called Rep TV. And he was like, I've just realised what that means.
Yeah, I feel like I talk about Taylor Swift to people in my life like as if she's like my friend, and like people just I just talk about her as if I assume people know what I'm on about.
We just say she when we're talking, like she's done this, and if you didn't know, people would think we were just talking about something.
Well, this is the same way whenever I talk about like Sophia and Cinzia from the Girls Bathroom podcast. I'm always like, Cinzia, she loves like strawberry decor in our house. I also love strawberry decor, and sometimes I'll be in like TK Maxx and I'll say to my boyfriend, oh, Cinzia would love that, and he's like, who is Cinzia? Or he's like, I thought Cinzia was one of your friends that I didn't know, and I'm like, no, I don't even know Cinzia. I just talk about her as if and me and my friend Ella were always just like, yeah, Cinzia would love that. Sophia, did you see Sophia did this? And then it's like, who's Sophia? And it's like, oh, it's just someone I watch on YouTube. But yeah, I feel like we talk about Taylor the same way.
I feel like this has changed the fan base so much, because for the last, how many years has it been since it's been this re-recording situation? Is it 2019?
The records got sold in 2019, and then she was...
So that's like 6 years.
She was allowed at the time to re-record, I think, like the first 3 albums, and then I remember it was November 2020 was the date that she could legally start re-recording Reputation and 1989. And I remember I was working at the leisure centre that day, and I remember me and Ella were like talking about it. I remember literally driving. It was when it was like lockdown had happened, but then the leisure centre started opening up again in November 2020. And I remember me and Ella, my best friend, we used to work together at the leisure centre, and we drove into work one day in our separate cars because it was still locked down, so we had to like drive separately. So I remember we like pulled up we always used to park in the same spot. We'd pull up like together in the morning, and we were walking up the ramp to the leisure centre, and I remember being like, today's the day that Reputation in 1989 Taylor's version is like allowed, and we literally thought it was going to happen like the day after.
Wait, what do you mean? That she was allowed to re-record
because
after a certain date?
After they were sold, she could re-record, I think, the first few, but she couldn't re-record 1989 and Reputation until that date, because it had been so many years.
And you thought they were coming out that day.
Yeah, so literally, I remember, like, everyone on, like, Swiftie Twitter was like, today's the day, like she must already have it recorded, like it's gonna be today. And I remember me and Ella were like in Spectrum, and I was like, oh my god. And that was in 2020. That was 5 years ago. And 5 years later, people were still saying now, it's going to come out at the AMAs last week.
And
like,
now Taylor has just said that, what did she say? She hasn't even recorded a
quarter of
it. So it's just so funny to me.
I know, literally for 5 years we've been like,
it's coming,
and it just
and it doesn't even never exist.
I keep seeing people like, she didn't announce it. She announced its cancellation quicker than she announced it's coming out.
It doesn't even exist.
It's not even real.
It's not real. And everyone's been obsessed with it.
But I really hope she does release the vault tracks of Reputation.
I feel like she
And
will.
she kind of was saying that she's going to release Debut. She was kind of saying that. I think, people were saying that the Debut 20th anniversary is next year, so people were saying maybe she would do like a 20th anniversary edition.
That would make sense.
And then for Reputation, there was never a deluxe version of that album, so she could just make a deluxe with like the original tracks being the original copies, but then the extra songs, the vault tracks.
Good idea.
Or people were saying maybe she should just do a whole album called like The Vault with like all the vault tracks from any album, and we just like don't know what album they came from.
That would be fun.
I think that would be good, because I feel like Folklore and Evermore definitely have vault tracks, because
I really want to hear
in
those.
Lowercase Inside the Vault, like that literally is, that's her confirming that there's songs about Matty in the Folklore and Evermore vault tracks.
And now that she might feel more comfortable
talking about those, at the time she didn't want to release them because they were like obviously about him, but now
they might be like super obvious songs that maybe she would be happy to release now, but maybe not. It might be a bit too much. I feel like
I want more Evermore. Like if there's any more, give me some more Evermore. Please.
She might think this is too private. I don't know.
I think after Guilty as Sin, like what more can you say? Like she said it all.
That is so true. There's so much on Tortured Poets that I wouldn't even say to like.
I wouldn't say out loud. I wouldn't say it to myself.
I wouldn't say it to my therapist.
Yeah, and she's
written it.
Yeah,
which is so.
I feel like Tortured Poets. I feel like we got all the songs. I don't think there's any vault tracks on Tortured Poets because that's such a long album. But
if there's Tortured Poets vault tracks,
the whole album's gonna be like 50 songs. That'd be crazy. But no, I'm very happy for her. It's so fun. I'm excited that she might release new vinyl variants.
Yeah.
People were like, she's going to bring back the Polaroid camera for Reputation. And she can also release like the Red tour video, which was taken off streaming. Reputation tour on Netflix might come back. The Love Alive from Paris, she can finally post the songs that she wasn't allowed to post at the time. There's so many things that she can do now because she just owns all the rights.
And also it's just fun to be able to just listen to the original recordings of everything.
Yeah. Girl at Home original version is the best.
Especially, I feel like for me, just the Fearless album, it would just be nice to just listen to that, the original.
Yeah, and like Best of Them Revenge original lyrics. If you're into that, you know. I do think though, I don't know what I'm going to do with like my playlist. Like, am I just going to keep them the same as they are, or am I going to add back in some of the original tracks that I like?
I think add in, like, switch out what you think is your favourite, and then you just have the best version.
Yeah. But then I feel like it's a different kind of vibe. Like, listening to 30-year-old Taylor singing the Red tracks is very different to like 22-year-old Taylor singing it. So it's like, depends what mood you're in, whether you want like the more angry edition or the more like older voice edition. Yeah, I don't know what I have a playlist of like every Taylor Swift song, but not including the old original version. So I'm like, do I add them back in now? I guess I should. And then when I shuffle it, it would just be like a mix of both.
But do you find that you can actually tell the difference like every single time? Or are there times when you think you're listening to one, but you're actually listening to the other version?
Well, normally when I'm on Spotify, I can't know what I've pressed. But yeah, if I'm in a shop and I'm just hear it, I don't always know.
I find it difficult sometimes.
Yeah, I think it just depends. Like, if I'm listening with like good quality headphones, I can normally kind of tell. Especially if they're side by side, I can definitely see the difference. But when I'm just listening to one, it's kind of hard. It depends which one. Like, there's some songs that are very different. Like Girl at Home, she literally changed the whole like vibe of the song. Like, so you could definitely tell with that. But then when people are always like, style original version's way better, I can never really tell that much of a difference.
I don't know if I'm just bad at listening, or maybe it's because I wasn't like so much of a fan during certain albums, so I don't think I've like...
You're a fake Swiftie because you weren't listening to them. You didn't even know what Speak Now was.
Yeah,
fake fan. Yeah, but I like listened to those albums at the time and like...
Yeah, so I think For me, I can tell the
But
difference.
then I feel like when I actually do go back fully and listen, like, as an album, I can realise her voice does sound a lot younger in, like, Speak Now and Fearless, especially.
And obviously her voice has gotten better over time.
Yeah. But I'm excited. I hope she does release debut Taylor's version, because I want to hear, like, her adult voice doing, like, the country accent. I want to see what it's like.
But do you think she'll call it something different now? Because she can't really call it Taylor's version anymore, because she owns the original version as well.
That's why I think people are saying she might just do the 20th anniversary edition of debut, or she might just call it, like, remastered edition.
Yeah.
Or something. Well, a lot of artists do bring out, like, anniversary editions, or they do, like, the greatest hits albums. Like, it's not uncommon for people to re-release their music.
It's just weird to think about, because it just becomes so normal to think about Taylor's version, which is weird in itself, because when it first came out as a concept, everyone's minds were blown, and it was
confusing,
completely like a weird thing. But now we're just so used to it.
Well, and the streams, people were saying, are the streams going to be combined on Spotify? So now all her songs are going to have, like, double the amount of streams, because they're going to combine them probably, which is crazy. She's going to, like, break loads of records if she does that, because all the songs will have, like, double the amount of streams.
Well, yeah, that would make sense. Like, they should be like that, really.
But then they are slightly different.
Then they are different, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say whether they should be. But, and, like, the whole album streams sales as well, should they be added up together? Because it's, like, a slightly different album. But I know when you have, like, a deluxe edition of an album, that is added to the original sales.
Yeah, or if you have, I've noticed if you have a single and then the album, it's single together, like, the numbers are added together.
Well, it's the same way, like a lot of people complain that Taylor does all the vinyl variants because she wants the more sales added to the album. So I guess, it should be added if they do it for that.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, but I'm very excited, and I hope she's basically said she's not doing any more music videos for Rep, because she said the music videos, and she's not doing any new album art for Rep. She kind of said.
It's pretty hard to improve upon the Rep music videos.
Well, and it just...
They're so good.
I do understand why she didn't want to re-record. Most of the album is, like, Reputation is basically a love album. Like,
that's what I was going to say.
It's way more romantic than Lover.
It would be quite hard to go back to some of those Joe
like
love songs.
To sing, like, just a lot of the songs on there, like New Year's Day, like Please Don't Become a Stranger, like that would be really upsetting to, like, have to sing 100 times to re-record it. Like, I kind of understand why she hasn't done it yet, or, like, hasn't got around to it. But I think debut will be fun. It's fun that she said that she's done it, and I wonder what the album art, she must have already done the album art for it. Like, I want to know what it looks like. Yeah. But also it's kind of sad, because it's like, are we just saying goodbye to the Taylor's versions? Like, the vinyls, like, which one am I gonna, like, which one is the default one we're gonna be like, here's a picture of 1989? What picture are we saying is the one?
Going back to the original, because that's just what she owns.
But, like I feel like the majority of the album arts look better, the Taylor's versions.
I don't know.
I think.
But, I mean, they might look better, but they're not the original.
They don't have the nostalgia,
if you know what I mean.
But I feel like now I just, like, I've been so, like, used to, like, not wanting to look at them and, like, not liking those albums because they're the stolen ones that, like...
But that's quite sad, because it's like, they are still hers, really, deep down.
And she's got them back now. Yeah, well, I'm very happy for her, and, I'm very excited to go listen to all the original albums. Yeah. And, like, I need to now go buy all the vinyls of the originals, because I don't have any of... I think I've got debut, but I don't have... most of the others, because I only started collecting vinyl once the Taylor's versions had already come out, so I just bought the Taylor's versions.
I know what to get you for Christmas.
Yeah, I have like 6 albums to buy. And all the, like, special editions and stuff. I hope she does reprint, like, some of the special editions, because that would be fun. But yeah, anyway, this was a random tangent, but thank you for your question, because I love talking about Taylor Swift.
Sorry if any of you
it was at the end, so they could just turn off at this point if they got bored. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing really well. Hopefully you had a good week. Make sure you're following us on Instagram at mybigsisterpodcast. We're also on TikTok and YouTube and Spotify, wherever you can find us.
Yeah, shout out to all the Spotify comment girlies.
I love Spotify comments.
I don't know why. I always am, like, so much more excited for a Spotify comment, because it's like, ooh, someone's commented on Spotify.
I still don't know how you comment on Spotify.
So shout out to you, Spotify comment girlies.
Yeah, because you've actually worked out how to comment. You've got further than me. So
we see you. We appreciate
you. Thank you very much. But yeah, I hope you're all having a really good week. It is the last episode of season 2 next week, so that's exciting. If anyone has any requests for season 3, any topics you want to see, any guests, you want to see, because we may have brought a third mic now, so we may be able to have some guests on. If you have anything at all you want us to do next season, then please comment it below. But yeah, we will see you next week for our final episode of season 2, and I hope you're doing really well. If you want to follow us on Instagram, my personal accounts are all at Grace Tutty. What's your?
And I'm Josie Tutty on Instagram and Josie Violet on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I hope you're all having a really good week, and we'll see you next week for another episode. Bye. Guys.